Ever get that feeling like you're just scratching the surface? Like there's this whole universe of information out there and you just can't quite grasp it all.
I think we've all felt that way at some point, especially in the age of information overload.
Right. And what if I told you there's this, well, it's not really a thing, but more like a tool, an AI tool
Okay.
that could help us navigate that, dive deep into any topic, synthesize all the data out there.
So not just your typical search engine.
Exactly. Think of it like having this tireless research assistant working behind the scenes, but it's AI.
I'm definitely intrigued.
So imagine for a second you're trying to launch a new app, right?
Yeah.
A translation app.
Okay.
You want to understand smartphone adoption rates, see how interest in language learning is trending, and look at how mobile penetration has changed over the past decade.
And this AI could help with that.
Not just help, it could compile a whole detailed report on all that across, let's say, the top 10 developed and developing countries by GDP. It can even look at where its own language model is already active and suggest potential markets to target.
Wow. That's quite a bit more than just pulling up some links, isn't it?
Right. And that's just one example.
So what else can it do? What other scenarios can this AI handle?
Okay, picture this. Someone's trying to remember this TV show, but they only remember a few scenes. Like there's a tense poker game, a man locked in a room, and a scene with a gift of vodka at a butcher shop. Pretty obscure, right?
Definitely sounds like a challenge.
Well, this AI, based on just those details, could actually figure out what show it is and even pinpoint the exact episode.
It's like connecting these totally random dots, finding the needle in the haystack.
Precisely. And it gets even wilder. Let's say you're a scientist and you're working on, say, cell reprogramming.
Okay.
You're trying to find ways to improve the efficiency of the Yamanaka factors.
Right. The proteins used to induce pluripotency.
Exactly. This AI could dig through years of scientific literature, analyze tons of papers, and actually identify the most promising avenues for improvement.
So it really is like having that tireless research assistant constantly working in the background.
And it doesn't stop there. Imagine someone's planning a snowboarding trip to, let's say, Hokkaido, Japan. They want the perfect snowboard for the snow conditions there.
Sounds like a pretty specific request.
But this AI could take into account their riding style, their preferences, even their preferred color palette.
Seriously?
Yeah, and then it would provide a whole curated list of snowboard recommendations, complete with detailed explanations for each choice.
That is impressive. To be able to handle such diverse requests, from complex scientific research to something so specific, what kind of technology even makes this possible?
Well, at its core, it's been trained using this technique called end-to-end reinforcement learning.
Reinforcement learning meaning?
Basically, the AI learns through trial and error, kind of like how we learn through experience.
So it's not just pre-programmed with a set of rules.
Nope. It learns to navigate the web, analyze information, even solve problems by experimenting and getting feedback.
So it actually interacts with the digital world, just like a human researcher would.
You got it. It can plan multi-step tasks, browse through files, plot graphs, even embed images in its responses.
Wow. We're not just talking about finding information, it's about understanding it, processing it.
And presenting it in a way that's clear, concise, even visually compelling. It's pushing the boundaries of what we thought AI could do, for sure. But,
There's a catch, I imagine.
well, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yes.
It's still under
Of
development.
course.
And like any AI, it can make mistakes. Imagine you ask it about the effectiveness of, say, buttons with both icons and labels compared to buttons with just icons or just labels. It might give you a whole analysis based on user studies. But user interface design is tricky.
Right. It's nuanced. It depends a lot on the context.
Exactly. So you can't just blindly trust the AI's output. You still need critical thinking, human judgment.
It's a tool, a powerful one, but not a replacement for human intellect.
Right. We need to view it as a partner in the pursuit of knowledge, a really, really smart partner. Now let's see how it stacks up when we put it to the test.
So we've seen what this AI can do in theory, but how does it actually perform in the real world?
Well, to really test its limits, they put it through something called GAIA.
GAIA.
Yeah, it stands for General AI Assessment. It's this benchmark designed to evaluate an AI's ability to solve problems that you'd find in the real world.
Okay, so not just about understanding language or processing data, but actually using that knowledge to navigate real-world situations.
Exactly. It needs to be able to reason, browse the web, use tools, even apply common sense.
Sounds like they threw the whole kitchen sink at it.
He kind of did. And the results. It achieves state-of-the-art performance on GIA. surpassed other leading AI models.
That's impressive. But I have to ask, what did those GAIA challenges actually look like? What kinds of tasks did it have to perform?
Well, one example involved trying to find a specific date.
A date. Okay.
Yeah, buried in the footnote of a book. The user only gave it a digital identifier for the book and the page number. But the book wasn't freely available online.
So the AI had to actually go out and find it.
Had to navigate digital libraries, repositories, publisher websites, all to access the book and then locate that specific footnote.
Even for a human, that sounds like a pretty tedious task.
Right. It really shows how resourceful this AI can be.
It had to understand the context, figure out which sources were credible, make decisions about how to proceed.
It's not just retrieving information, it's understanding the task and adapting its approach.
It's like it's thinking, problem solving.
Exactly. Another GAIA challenge involved answering a question about a scientific paper.
Okay.
It was published in a specific journal back in 2012. The user just gave it the year and the journal name and asked about a particular nanocompound studied in the paper.
Talk about a needle in a haystack.
Totally. But instead of just brute forcing it and searching through every single paper from that year, this AI actually took a more strategic approach. It broke the task down into smaller steps, made sure it understood what was being asked, and then systematically explored different avenues to find the answer.
That's pretty incredible, mimicking that human-like reasoning and problem solving.
That's the power of reinforcement learning. It learns to think critically.
So we've seen some really impressive examples of what this AI can do. But you mentioned earlier that there are some potential drawbacks, too.
Yeah, definitely. As amazing as this AI is, it's still under development.
Of course.
It can make mistakes, misinterpret information. Sometimes it even generates responses that sound totally plausible, but are actually factually incorrect.
So it's not perfect. We can't just take everything it says as gospel true.
Right. We still need that critical thinking, that human judgment.
And I imagine there's also the potential for misuse.
Absolutely. Like any technology, it could be used for the wrong reasons. Someone could use it to generate misinformation or to manipulate data for their own benefit.
That's a worrying thought. As this technology becomes more powerful, we need to be very careful about how it's used.
We need ethical guidelines, safeguards. It's a responsibility we all share. Developers, policymakers, even users like us.
Speaking of responsibility, let's talk about the potential impact of this AI on the future of work. How might this technology change the way we learn, the way we collaborate, the way we create?
So we've seen how powerful this AI is, talked about the potential downsides. Now let's zoom out a bit and think about the bigger picture. What does this mean for the future of work?
The implications are huge, right? I mean, think about it. This could really democratize access to information.
Level the playing field.
Exactly. Empower individuals, organizations, everyone with the knowledge they need to solve problems, make smart decisions.
Drive innovation. Imagine, students could dive deep into any subject that interests them.
Researchers could accelerate breakthroughs.
Policymakers could craft better solutions because they actually have a deeper understanding of the issues.
It's like unlocking human potential, you
Yeah.
know? Freeing us from that constant information overload. But,
There's a but.
always a but.
Right.
We can't ignore the possibility that this AI could make existing inequalities even worse.
Especially if access to this technology is concentrated in the hands of just a few.
Exactly. And we need to think about potential bias in the data that was used to train it.
Make sure it's developed and deployed in a way that's fair and inclusive. And then there's the question of jobs.
Ah, the big one. Could this AI lead to job displacement? Machines taking over tasks that humans used to do.
It's a tough question, isn't it? Some say AI will create more jobs, new industries will emerge. Others are worried about mass unemployment because of automation.
It's hard to say for sure what will happen.
But one thing's for sure, we need to be prepared. Invest in education and training so people have the skills they need to thrive in this new world. A world where AI plays a bigger role.
And we need to have some serious conversations about the ethics of all this.
Make sure its development is aligned with our values,
Right, and that it ultimately benefits all of humanity.
It's a journey we're all on together. We need to be thoughtful, work together, and commit to harnessing the power of AI responsibly.
It's a future we need to shape proactively. It needs to reflect our values, our hopes for a better world.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into this incredible AI.
It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, from its amazing capabilities to its potential pitfalls and everything in between. It's fascinating, but also a little bit daunting, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. But it's a reminder that the future of AI is in our hands.
The choices we make today will shape that future. Let's make sure it's a future that empowers us all. a future where AI helps us build a better world for everyone.